What if I told you that one of the greatest boxing games in history features a cowardly Frenchman, a borderline homosexual from the Bronx, a 70-year-old man who fakes his ID to pull chicks, and a typical Irishman? Sound like some sort of sick joke, right? Well, it isn't. This is Punch-Out! Wii. For the two of you who aren't already aware of this franchise's history, allow me to explain. Punch-Out! Began as an arcade game in 1984 and was also the first game Koji Kondo worked on at Nintendo, who would later go on to produce classics like the 1-1 theme associated with Super Mario Bros. The game would go on to be a massive success, making Nintendo tons of money and would later get a sequel later in the year. However, these aren't the titles most will remember. Those would be the NES release in 1987, initially released as Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Due to a deal Nintendo made with the soon-to-be heavyweight champion, and then renamed to Punch-Out! After their license with Tyson expired, and Super Punch-Out! For the SNES in 1995. These games were highly successful, selling millions of copies. For some strange reason, however, the series just sort of died for ages. That is until 2009's Punch-Out! Wii, which aimed to win back hardcore gamers who had grown disillusioned with Nintendo's more casual friendly approach with the Wii, while also giving the newbies a game that anyone could pick up and play with little issue. Did it succeed in that front? As always, let's get into things. Before getting into the gameplay, let's discuss this game's minimal plot. You take control of Little Mac, a small boxer from the Bronx who has aspirations of winning the World Video Boxing Association, or WVBA, championship. And after a bit of training from former WVBA champion Doc Lewis, who can fight for a plump old man mind you, he sets out to achieve his goal. Very simple, but it works. Now let's get to the gameplay. Unlike many boxing games where you have full control of your boxer, Little Mac is rooted to a spot, only able to dodge in set distances and block certain attacks. None of your opponents have this limitation, which makes me wonder why Mac restrains himself like this in the first place. I mean, you see pricks like Aaron Lyon bouncing all over the place, so why can't Mac take advantage of the space in ring more to make life easier for himself? Just saying. Unfortunately, this isn't the only limitation Mac has. His regular punches are rather weak, meaning he can't deal much damage at a standstill, if at all. Thankfully, there are two ways to go about this. The first is to dodge enemy attacks and deliver a barrage of punches. The second is to interrupt enemy taunts or attacks with a punch of your own to throw up your star punch meter, which can be stacked on top of each other 3 times. This effectively means that you have to pay attention to all the little telltale symptoms of your opponent, make a split-second decision on whether to counter-punch or dodge, and reap the consequence of your choice, meaning the simplistic gameplay has a surprising amount of depth behind it. But I digress. Let's get into the fighters, the people who are beating the shit out of to get that championship, and make the Doc proud. Glass Joe, huh? How well can you take a punch? As his name implies, Glass Joe is a Frenchman who happens to be a failed chicken shit, and will not hesitate to let you know that throughout the match.
Les mains me font mal. Les gants de boxe sont trop serrés. Attention à mon menton! Ne frappe pas mon menton!
Anyway, Glass Joe is the easiest opponent in the game by a long shot. He only has 2 attacks and are all easy to dodge. Seriously, after fighting the dude, you have to wonder which sucker somehow lost to him. Not much else to say here, so let's move on to... Our second boxer on the list is a German military man who got beat up by children he trains. I think that says a lot about his fighting ability. I feel bad for the dude though, he can't even fight without shaking like a crack addict and even cowers in fear a couple times, calling for his mother.
Wo bist du denn? Mommy!
Unfortunately, this is a boxing match and not rehab, so... Again, not much else to say here because he's so piss easy, so on to the next fighter. Hailing from Brooklyn, this little kid's personality is rather flamboyant.
Ready for this? Yeah, just go, kid!
While not as pathetic as the first 2 fighters, he's not much better due to his obsession with busting a move in the ring. As a result, it's ridiculously easy to stop past stars against him and TKO him in round 1. His attacks are also easy to telegraph too, with him even saying,
"Here it comes,"
before one of them. Another easy fight. On to the next fool. So let me get this straight. Our opponents in the minor circuit consist of a cowardly Frenchman, a military man who got beat up by kids, a wannabe Chris Brown, and a morbidly obese male who would give Dave Blunt a bun for his money. This has to be the most unserious division in the history of boxing. Well, to King Hippo's credit, he's the first opponent who actually requires some sort of strategy, as you must attack him in a certain way. Stunning him with a face punch followed by assault on his big fat belly is the only way of walking away with something here. You also need to attack him while his mouth is open, as that's when he's exposed for damage. However, that isn't an issue yet, as he always leaves his mouth open after whiffing an attack. You'd think he'd learn from Max's attack pattern and adjust accordingly, but I guess it's hard to think when your arteries are clogged up beyond belief. Unfortunately for him, his weight turns out to be a double-edged sword, as he becomes incapable of continuing the fight should he get knocked down once, even crushing a poor woman in the crowd. But with that, Mac is officially the minor circuit champion. More of the story is they all suck with blatantly obvious tells and piss poor durability. But this is only the first circuit of the game after all, it's to be expected. Let's move on to greater challenges. For the first time in the game, we have an opponent who takes his training seriously. While the previous fighters would fit right in at a circus, Piston Hondo, hailing from Japan, actually has a training montage. He's also a very respectful fighter, almost samurai-esque in that regard, as he keeps taunts to a minimum and even bows to you mid-match. Unfortunately for him, I'm an American, eat shit. He's definitely a step above King Hippo and is rather quick on his feet. As long as you're careful however, he's not too bad of an opponent to fight.
TKO!
In stark contrast to Piston Hondo however, Bear Hugger is a relatively laid back dude who somehow got trained by a bear, and he makes it no secret he's Canadian.
I like raw fish.
Anyway, he's a step above Hondo, with less opportunities to counter and his tells being less obvious. He also has a massive bear hug that drains about half your health, which is the most powerful attack Mac has faced to this point. If you struggled with Hondo, you'll be stuck on this guy for a bit, but he's not a challenge that can't be overcome with enough determination.
TKO!
Great Tiger is probably the most the game ever pushes the boundaries in terms of stereotypes. Dude's Indian, so of course he has a turban, moustache with a goatee, a floating carpet and magical powers. He also speaks fluent Hindi and can be quite the dick to Lil Mac on occasion.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
In terms of him as a fighter, he's got some tricky hooks on him that FB dodge in the direction he's coming from and is rather quick on his feet. I remember being stuck on this dude for quite a while as a kid. He's not too bad now, but is definitely the toughest fighter in the major circuit. And yes, that includes... Don Flamenco, hailing from Spain, is a ladies' man to the core, with some of his attacks paying tribute to Carmen, which I can only assume is his girlfriend. Don is a very laid-back and cocky fighter, who has an unorthodox way of fighting if I do say so myself. In order to attack him, you must first throw a punch. He'll block and counter, and that's when you dodge his counter punch and counter the counter. Probably sounded really convoluted when I just explained it, but it's very intuitive in game. I find him easier in Great Tiger in all honesty. His attacks are easier to telegraph for one, and he's got a lot more star punch opportunities in him. What makes this fight a total joke for me however is the infinite punch combo exclusive to Don. By punching him in a certain way after he's stunned, you can keep him in an infinite cycle till he's knocked down, making even his most dangerous phase after losing his toupee a non-issue. Kinda anticlimactic given how much trouble I had with Great Tiger when I first played, but I digress. And with that, we've conquered the major circuit. Time to take down the top dogs next. Next up on Mac's hit list is an Irishman who goes by the name of Aaron Ryan. He's rowdy, a total prick, puts horseshoes into his gloves pre-match, a cheating bastard, and then mashes his for pain. In addition to that, a lot of things that happen during the fight all revolve around the number 7, which is considered a lucky number in Ireland. For example, you can hit him 7 times while he's stunned. He always gets up at 7 when knocked down. You have 7 hearts in the fight. Its unique KO animations are 7 seconds long. Nice bit of characterization there, Nintendo. In terms of the actual fight, this is where you need to know how to counterpunch opponents, as you're not doing much damage to Iron Ryan otherwise. Once you know that, this is a fairly simple fight. It will catch you off guard because of how his movement is the first time, but once you understand how to beat him, one of the most entertaining fights in the game. Soda Pop has a rather unique mechanic with his soda bowls, where you can recover health after drinking one during a match. Think of it like Rock Lee's Drunken Fist in a way. Actually, given that his original name was Vodka Drakinski, maybe that's not too bad of a theory. Anyway, this guy's the hardest opponent in the game for me, and it's due to him being super unpredictable. Up to this point, every opponent has shown clear tells when they're about to attack. Soda Pop on the other hand shows next to no signs of when he's about to attack, meaning you have a couple of frames to avoid being damaged. You'll be stuck on this guy for quite a while until you memorize his patterns, but through trial and error, you eventually slog through. Bold ball, huh? Let's see how well you can take a punch. Not very well apparently. Hailing from Turkey, Bold Bull was angry, arrogant, hideous, and may have a prior history with Doc Lewis.
Hey Doc, Mek'e dayak yemeği mi öğretiyorsun?
I find him to be a much more manageable fight than Soda Popinski because his patterns are more predictable and it's easier to get star punches off him. For now. He does have the bull charge where he charges at you like a bull and knocks you down in one hit if it connects. Other than that though, fairly standard fight and character. Now whose skull am I bashing in next? Super Macho Man, who's apparently 29, is a celebrity in this universe, hailing from Hollywood, and he loves to show off.
Oh, these sunglasses? You can't afford these sunglasses, and get your hands off the ropes.
He's probably the fighter I had the most trouble with when I first played this game, as he gets tougher with each knockdown. However, that's before I figured out how to get star punches off him. I'd explain it, but the footage speaks for itself. Anyway, with what I know now, he's not too bad to fight. He'll definitely kick your ass the first time though. With that out of the way though, it's time to go toe to toe with the champ. Mr. Sandman is the best of the best, and he certainly means business. Just look at his backstory here, crying out loud. He makes every boxer sleep in one hit. However, and this may be a controversial opinion, I don't find him to be that challenging. In this particular run, I played really poorly and still managed to TKO him in round 1. Round 1! I will admit his punches do hurt. However, even on the first playthrough, I never found this guy to be as annoying as Macho Man was. It's easy to rack up stars and do the damage, and his moves are much more predictable. He's certainly no pushover, and you will get your ass handed to you by the likes of the Dreamland Express when you fade for the first time. But once you learn how to counterpunch him, you should be good. Anyway, time to go to sleep, Sandman.
TKO!
And with that, Little Mac is now the best boxer in the world. And with that title, you're bound to have people who want to take it from you. Glass Joe, in an attempt from the WVBA to mask how pathetic a boxer he really is, gets custom headgear for losing 100 matches. which fun fact you can actually get if you suck enough at the game. As a result, his head is no longer as vulnerable as it used to be, meaning there's very few moments where his guard is completely down like in Contender. The only way to punch his face in any capacity is to perform a star punch on him, which allows you to get a couple hits in before his headgear falls back down on his face. However, every fighter in this mode now dodges star punches, meaning you can't be as reckless with him if you were in Contender. He's also added more trickery to his game, with a ton of delayed attacks which will catch you off guard. For once, he actually resembles a competent boxer. However, for as much of these changes may throw you off guard, he's still Glass Joe when it comes down to it, and he won't take you that long to beat. Von Kaiser, after learning of Mac's title win, somehow managed to whip himself into shape. Which doesn't mean much as he pretty much unchanged from Contender, but hey, I appreciate the effort at least. One thing that has changed is that he has a new attack he uses after being knocked down, which knocks you down in one hit. It's pretty easy to read though, so this guy is a breeze once you get used to his fake out attacks. What system did this game release on, Disco Kid? Much like the first two opponents in this mode, wannabe Chris Brown decides to get his ass into shape and train for a change, with even more of a flamboyant personality than before.
5, 6, 7, 8, and stretch, and back, and down. Now flex, and straight, let's go.
Unfortunately for him, it didn't do much as he's the easiest opponent in title defense by far. Racking up stars against him is a non-issue and his attacks leave a lot to be desired in terms of power, meaning I can take him out before he even gets a chance to showcase his new Disco Flurry move. What a terrible boxer, honestly. Dave Bluntz makes his grand return, and apparently didn't bother with any sort of training since his flashback shows him looking for a giant manhole cover. Look, I gave Disco a kid shit, but at least he actually tried to get better at his profession. This dude just went looking for protection that we knock off in 30 seconds. Anyway, this guy is mostly unchanged from Contender. He does close his mouth more, meaning you have to be vigilant and counter punching when it's open. But if you've gotten to this point of the game, you can handle Hippo. Holy shit, talk about a difficulty spike. Piston Honda returns with a vengeance. He's almost as fast as Sonic the Hedgehog, much stronger than before, and finally realizes Mac is an ignorant American. Though that doesn't mean Mac doesn't get the last laugh. Hold it, bitch! But yeah, this dude is a nightmare to fight in the first one. He loves to fake you out throughout the fight and moves so quickly that you often react prematurely and take hits. You will get stuck on him for quite some time, and I consider him one of the hardest fights in the game. With enough patience, you will eventually take the bastard down. Ugh, what a pain. Bear Hugger this time around has opted to go on a training arc with a bear and a squirrel, the latter even joining Bear Hugger in the fight. You know, just to really rub in the fact he's Canadian. His training arc with Smokey the Bear seems to have paid off as he's much harder to stun. In order to damage him substantially, you need star punches, which are really hard to get due to the split second timing required. Not only does he pack quite a punch, but he's incredibly annoying to take down. One of the least pleasant fights in this division without a doubt. This guy is actually easier than his Contender counterpart despite going through a whole training arc in the forest, and it all has to do with how he telegraphs his move with his little head turban. His attacks depend on the Carlos turban flashes, which makes predicting his moves a complete joke. The only thing that will catch you off guard is his Mirage dance attack, which can catch you off guard due to how much the clones bend into a background. Once you come to terms with that though, pretty tame fight. The beta male boxer returns with a vengeance, looking to exact revenge for how we utterly humiliated him in front of Carmen. Unfortunately for him, she's moved on to the Mac. Anyway, this guy is kinda easy in my opinion. If you know how to beat Contender Dawn, you know how to beat him. The infinite punch combo has been changed, but that's about it. I'm mostly struggling to say more, so let's move on to the next challenger. The Irishman returns for vengeance, and he's even more of a cheating arsehole than the last time we fought. How's that even possible? Besides moving around like he snorted some of the King's finest pre-match, he now counters your counterpunches and carries a giant rope weapon into the ring. Seriously, how the fuck do these refs even allow this shit to happen? Despite how chaotic the fight is, however, I really do enjoy this counter. It's got such a frenetic energy to it, the difficulty is just right, and Aaron's personality shines through once again. Manhole covers, outside aid, magical powers, a fucking weapon, and now doping? Fuck me, why doesn't Mac just pull up to the ring with an AK-47 and call it a day? Especially against this cheating bastard, who dials up the difficulty to almost ridiculous degrees. I stated back when talking about his contender counterpart that he was already pretty unpredictable even back then. But someone on his team thought that wasn't enough, cause some of the shit he comes up with after drinking that cocaine-laced soda is despicable. Every time I beat this guy, it honestly feels like a fluke. He's just that random. This is by far the toughest fight in the game for me without a shadow of a doubt. And it doesn't get much easier with the next guy either. Bold Bull, while training for a rematch, somehow manages to not only survive the full force of a bull ramming into him, but somehow stays on his feet. Let that be a warning of things to come. The gimmick that makes this fight one of the hardest in the game is that you need star punches to knock this guy down at all, and they're a real pain in the ass to get without being frame perfect. Other than that, he's not too drastically different to what he was in Contender. However, he's stronger and thinks out way more, which means he'll likely take you quite a while to beat. Mac stole his fame, Mac stole his girls, and most importantly, Mac stole his contracts. And Macho Man won't take this disrespect sitting down. He will take everything you've got to overcome this force of nature. Well, that was easy. Macho Man is a real breath of fresh air after going through these two bastards. Aside from a couple of new moves, he's very much the same guy he was in Contender. If you learn how to get star punches off him then, you'll know what to do here. Sandman, angry and humiliated after a loss encounter, broke down someone's house with his bare fists. After one loss. Look, say what you will about Glass Joe, but that guy took his 101 losses with class. You disgust me, Sandman. Anyway, besides the order which he throws his punches, he's not really changed too much from Contender mode, with only one new move being added to his repertoire, the Wink Punch, where he winks and then immediately throws an uppercut from the side he winked from. It's a powerful move, and it will kick your ass if you're not handling it properly. However, there is a workaround that, to me anyway, makes him an easier fight than Bold Bull or Soda Pump: counter punching. You see, if you're able to punch him right as he blinks his eye, you earn a star punch. Miss however, and you're likely losing half your health from the preceding uppercut. And while I wasn't able to do it as efficiently as I used to for this recording, I blame emulation. I'm usually able to punch him in his eye efficiently, which makes the fight a lot easier. For a first time player, he'll kick your ass as a final boss should, but if you've gotten this far, you'll eventually overcome the challenge.
TKO!
You can always take a whooping.
After beating every boxer in the game and then defending your title, Mac decides to go on one last stand. This is essentially an endless mode of thoughts as you keep fighting boxers from title defense till you lose 3 times. And since I've already beaten this guys, this was a fairly comfortable time. Who wants to challenge me next? That's right folks, in a surprise twist, Donkey Kong is unlockable as a secret boxer. And he's a wild gorilla. However, he's quite tame compared to what you thought before, with a lot of attacks that can be seen coming from a mile away and very few annoying gimmicks. Just don't take too many hits.
Okay, now you die.
But with all that said, that's Punch-Out Wii for you folks. With phenomenal presentation, characters that breathe life and soul into the game, and a simple yet fun gameplay loop that perfectly caters to both casual and hardcore gamers, Punch-Out Wii isn't just a good game. It's a masterpiece that every gamer should have on their bucket list. But seriously Nintendo, bring back Mario's Breath next game.